Rajim, Bismillahirrahmanirrahim, Assalamu alaikum, Ji Ayanu, Pakhair Agale, Ni Hao, Chunashumme, Washmale, Ohai Gonzaimes, Guten Morgen, Ola, Boyor, Privyet, Kaifahal, Halishuma Chatore, Ahlan Wasal, Marhaba, Buna, Mucho, Gracia, Swabia, Bali Karea, Hosh Galden, and I was Sayo, Huyamora, Chivato, Chihal, Yud, Kalimera, and a very warm welcome to each and every one of you who's tuned into PTV World and are watching World this morning, alongside my very well-learned colleague who happens to be Miss Hajar Satti. I happen to be Shahzad Hassan Khan, and we hope and pray that everybody out there is doing wonderfully well and that you're ready to kickstart your day with us, even though 10 a.m. is a little late for you to start your day. But ladies and gentlemen, we're perfectly all right as soon as or as long as you're tuned into PTV World and watching World this morning. First things first, Hajra, how are you doing today?
Assalamu alaikum. Thank you so much for introducing me. Jazakallah khair. Shahzad, so over the weekend I watched a movie and that was a really wonderful movie and wanted to share it with you. So did by any chance you happen to watch The Line of the Desert?
No.
Okay, so this is the movie which is about we often come across this term called fascism, and so it was an ideology which started by an Italian dictator, and it's often equated with the authoritarianism and evilness and badness, right? Yep. So he conquered or he colonized the people of Libya, but within the Libya there were Muslim resistance against that colonial yoke, and it was wonderful, and there rose from that desert a lion called Umar Mukhtar. And for 20 years, he resisted the very modern army of the fascist Italians. But at the end, he was obviously captured because they had really modern technology. And he was offered that in pardon for his life, he should accept the colonial yoke. And he said, no, I am not going to do that. Why? Because obviously, he wanted the freedom for his people. And he said that this is the Islamic ideal. This is our land. And if I'm going to die, the next generation are going to rise against your rule. And then next generation are going to rise against your own, and this is not your land. Yeah. And there's a very brilliantly executed piece in that film in which so what happened was that there's a village which is actually assisting and aiding Umar Mukhtar, and when Italians come to know about it, so they pillage the village, they destroy all their corns and wheat and whatever they had, they kill the men, and they actually also take the women captives there. So when Umar Mukhtar comes to know about this, so what he does was he raids that Italian soldiers or contingent of Italian soldiers, and he killed all of them, and one lieutenant he remains, and he says do not kill that person because he is the prisoner of his war. Yeah. And this is the Umar Mukhtar, and Umar Mukhtar's colleague says that they do not let our prisoners of wars live. So Umar Mukhtar very famously says the Italians, they are not our teachers. And Shahzad, you will see that this was the same spirit in which when Pakistan captured Abhinandan from India, they handled that person with utmost dignity. True, and this is the Islamic ideals that you need to very gracefully deal with the prisoners out there.
And that's very wonderfully put as well. But you know, while you were at it, you know, there was this one movie which I remembered, which I watched over the weekend as well. And obviously, you know, it was Labor Day, so we had a recorded program on that day as well. So we had that luxury of time to ourselves. So I watched this movie, which the name was A Man of Action.
Okay.
So it is about, you know, a group of anarchists, you know, within France.
Okay.
And then how they kind of deal with it. And it's based on a true story. And imagine that the gentleman actually passed away in 2020.
Okay.
You know, so the story goes back in time, you know, so the gentleman has lived a longer, healthier life as well. And what he did is something for that, ladies and gentlemen, I believe that you certainly need to watch that film. It's available on Netflix. The name of the film is A Man of Action. But before we actually move any further, ladies and gentlemen, time now for top stories. And then we have a wonderful guest over here inside the studios. We'll be talking about education technology and artificial intelligence. Wow, I believe that is going to be one of my favorite topics from now on. But first up, top stories. Let's go. Hajra, why don't you take the lead?
Okay, so today is the World Press Freedom Day 2023, and UNESCO will organize a special anniversary event at the United Nations headquarters in New York, marking the 30 years since the United Nations General Assembly's decision proclaiming an International Day for the Press Freedom. Celebrated every 3rd of May, this year's theme for the day will be shaping a future of rights, freedom of expression as a driver for all other human rights. So signifying the enabling elements of freedom of expression to enjoy and protect all other human rights. And of course, freedom of expression is a fundamental and important right, and in contemporary era, we have seen that how it is manifested, especially with the advent of social media, right?
But obviously, you know, there's only one thing which I would want to say, that is that, you know, God forbid if you're breaking a story which has to do quite a lot with national security, God forbid, if it's just an example. I do think that you should be breaking that story rather to get points. I think what you really need to tell is or share with the authorities that, hey, you know what, God forbid, there can be chances or threats to national security, and this is something which I would want you to know before that news going on to the internet or before making it public for the audience. Ladies and gentlemen, just be little careful about it, and that does not have to do anything with freedom of speech. So please make sure that you draw that line. But towards the end, ladies and gentlemen, of the top stories, obviously my favorite subject, and for all of those people who've been missing out on PTV Sports that I'm not there, ladies and gentlemen, I'll be joining, inshallah, on the 8th, and it's because of the fact that I was traveling. And inshallah, so after the New Zealand series, I'll be back again. The third one-day international between Pakistan and New Zealand will be played in Karachi today. The hosts lead the 5-match series 2-0. PTV Sports is telecasting the series live. The first two, we have won. Fakhar Zaman is breaking records. Babar Azam is breaking records. I think it's just wonderful to see how the top tier of the team is performing. Even now, while I speak about cricket, ladies and gentlemen, we have a cricket fanatic sitting right behind the camera as well. There was a longer debate we had about cricket just yesterday. There's more to come today. So let's see. I think Pakistan on the right track, given the perspective that obviously it's going to be one-day international World Cup taking place this year. I believe our boys are ready. The green team is always ready. All right.
And certainly they played wonderfully well, because I was yesterday teaching the students and they were really happy with the way Pakistan's team performance have turned up. Obviously, I'm not that well aware, well versed with the cricketing matters. But having said so, Shahzad, let's kickstart our segment, which is about the edtech, education, and also the innovation, and how do we combine both of these streams. And obviously, my worthy co-host here also co-hosted a wonderful event yesterday, Shahzad. So why don't you
hosted it solemnly, ladies and gentlemen, didn't co-host it. But okay,
sorry,
first of all, I was ecstatic and excited about the fact that, alhamdulillah, I'll be representing, a brand which is worldwide. So ladies and gentlemen, we're talking about Classera over here, who bring, some smart learning solutions for the people out there as well. May it be K-12 education, may it be the higher education, and, may it be bridging the academia and then obviously the job market. And the panel discussions were fabulous. So, the name of the event was Inoxera, which was actually brought to us by Classera, ladies and gentlemen. They operate in more than 30 to 40 countries as of now, giving people or telling people about the smart solutions which are available out there. It's a unicorn industry, $1 billion valued business. Classera, ladies and gentlemen, was finally over here in Pakistan. We're glad and we're thankful to Nust University as well, and to their pro-rector, Air Vice Marshal retired Dr. Rizwan Riaz Sahab as well, because he was the chief guest, and then the Federal Secretary for the Ministry of Education was there. But there were three most important points, and that is that we wanted to kind of speak about that how can we reshape our education sector. Number one. Number two was that, how can we improve our vocational training centers. And then obviously when we speak about public or corporate trainings, so how do you think that education, technology and artificial intelligence can actually play a role? And then while we speak of it, I think what we really need to kind of think over here is, and for the better understanding of my audiences, I do not want to give everything away. We have the Chief Executive Officer over here. We will be talking about it. But the only fact was that, before COVID, we didn't really push out that content onto the internet. So COVID made us do that. And then there were models of blended learning and then hybrid learning. And there was a lot of debate about it that, okay, if we can certainly get our heads around blended learning, but certainly we need to be in the classroom, So
that's true.
Imagine, so it's partially classroom, partially internet. What did we do over here? Because they have promised to open up an office over here in Pakistan. Then, the technology hub will be taking place, or probably they'll be building it over here within Pakistan. A lot of people from Pakistan will be getting their jobs. But it was fantastic to see that how, it was organized by Classera, and then there was Microsoft as a sponsor, then HP was a sponsor, then LearnerBots was a sponsor, JBS was a sponsor, and then it was all, kind of organized in another way as well by Ejad Labs, so to see all of that synchronization going on in between these brands actually made me really happy that Pakistan is on the right path, and it was all because of Classera. And ladies and gentlemen, we're very lucky that we have been joined by the Chief Executive Officer of Classera over here inside our PTV World Studios, and he is Engineer Muhammad Al-Madani. Assalamu alaikum, kaifa hal?
Assalamu rahmatullah. Very happy and honored to be with you today.
Thank you so much. And it's likewise. I exactly felt the same yesterday at your event. Thank you for giving me that opportunity to be out there. So I've given away a lot of information about Classera. If there's anything you think I might have missed out on, please go ahead.
Well, yes, we're super happy to be in Pakistan, this great nation. sorry, this great nation with great potential, one of the largest population in the world, and of course among the biggest in the Muslim world, we wanted to have an impact. If you change the course of education to the new generation or even to the elderly, you change the course of the nation itself.
Yep.
Any nation that wants to be, to change its future, it start with the education.
That's true.
And it's part in the culture, even in here in the Pakistan, in the whole the region. It's the people of Iqra. So
Yes.
so it's rooted there in the culture. It's rooted in everyone's mind that we need to make education first. And in nowadays, education, the best way to reform it, the best way to take it to the next level is using technology.
Yeah, so
And
that's
it's the language of this new generation. I mean,
Yes.
if you think about this new generation,
Yes.
the way how they play games, the way
Yeah.
how they even
Yes.
talk. I mean, if you ask someone in an older generation, how many friends you have? You say, well, at the time, maybe I have 20. That's a very social person. Now you ask, one of those new generation kids, how many friends do you have? You say, well, I have 200 in Facebook, 300 in Twitter, I have that many in TikTok.
Yes.
That's their language.
True.
So we have to, make education speak in their own language, which is
True.
technology. So, and nowadays we're in 2023. It's not just technology, not any technology. You have to bring in the best, the latest technology,
True.
because there are a lot of technologies, but the generation and the kids here in Pakistan deserve the best. That's what we strive to do. So in Classera, we started with a journey back in the U.S. Yes, I'm originally from Medina,
Mashallah.
but I was born and grew up for a big time in the U.S.
Next time you're in Medina, do pray for us too.
Inshallah, of course, I go
Inshallah.
back and forth. That's where the family house is, and in the U.S. after I graduated, I started my first business. It was in general technology and in design, but after that, after college, said we want to do something impactful. So we started education, a technology company called Classera. We went then to Silicon Valley to learn from the best. And you're surrounded with all these great giant Google, Facebook, Twitter, and all these technology companies. So we learn from the best. And then we said our passion is to focus in emerging markets. Those are the ones who need
Yes.
it the most.
True.
So we focused little by little until we became the number one in MENA. Then now we are covering the entire, APAC, Africa, MENA, working in over 35, close to 40 countries.
MashaAllah.
And luckily, during that time, we served several, institutions, more than 10 ministries of education nationwide at the country level, thousands and thousands of private schools, universities, a lot of corporate training using the e-learning to train
Yeah.
their employees. So it's a big spectrum. What we cover is what we call K to grade, like
Yeah.
kindergarten all the way until you have a gray hair.
Okay.
That's our phrase.
K to grade.
Because learning is a lifelong journey.
Yes.
Yeah.
It's not something you stop at the school.
That's true.
And that's what we have. With technology, it could be with you at any time. So we came up with Classera with the disruptive technology. We say, how can we change the learning experience? If we
Right.
want to change, the learning experience, you have to change engagement. So we use an equation. We call it, let's maybe change the inspiration and personalization and collaboration. So we change the inspiration by having gamification and edutainment in
Yeah.
the learning process.
True.
We changed the individualization, personalization using AI before the hub of AI. And we use the collaboration using social learning. All of that to come up with a better learning solution. All of that to come up with a better learning solution, a better learning experience. And that's what got us, most of these global awards. Maybe you know about in the event yesterday,
Yes.
the Microsoft Global Award of the Partner of the Year. HP is choosing their global product, HP Class Easy. It is powered by Classera. A guest award, the Beta
And it was
award.
given away for free to a school and a university just yesterday as well.
Yeah,
for
that
one
was part
complete
of
year.
the
And
incentives.
so let me explain it to my viewers as well. So imagine that this kind of learning we're talking about over here is the teachers just by voice command
Okay.
can actually prepare
Yes.
an exam. Students can learn quite a lot, and there's been a lot of debate.
So
For all of those
is it
people.
somewhat like Chat GPT thing?
It's not chat
Okay.
GPT. See, imagine that chat GPT, I believe, is only one of the branches of artificial intelligence. You know,
Okay.
it's not complete artificial intelligence. There's
Okay.
so many things which artificial intelligence encompasses, and that's something which we really need to kind of focus on. But while we speak of it, you know, there's one more question, and that is that, you know, it was in Noxera's fifth edition, right? So in its fifth edition, for the very first time, they came down to Pakistan. I'm not sure about Egypt and Jordan as well, because now Noxera is actually happening globally, and that's what we
Yes.
pray for, inshallah. Why do you think in the first place your team came up to you and be like, hey, you know what, we think that, you know, we certainly need to hit Pakistan now?
Oh, Pakistan for sure. When it comes to emerging market, is in top in the list, and our strategy. We have some of, I told you, global investors like the sovereign funds,
Okay.
several sovereign funds, and multinational companies from Silicon Valley, or part of our investor. We closed one of the interesting, biggest investment round actually in the region in EdTech, and they all this, you know, with the board said, Pakistan is definitely not to be missed. It have great potential and a great, it has to get a good part of our investment. So that's why we came. We thought having an Uxera, which is an EdTech event, it's not a Classera event. It's talking about what is the future innovation in smart learning. How can we push the innovation limit in smart learning, in education technology to the next level? That's why, you know, some of those global companies, Microsoft, HP, Intel, and many others came in, and many of the local EdTech in Pakistan, they came under one roof to debate and discuss with, of course, all the stakeholders like the Ministry of Education, school owners, even the the training in corporate. How can we take this to the next level? We hosted the event in NAS, which is, I mean, we're being thankful to them, and they have been a great support to the success of this event. And from now on, we decided this is not going to be just this year. This is going to be an annual event in Pakistan to push the innovation in education in Pakistan. And hopefully this is going to be an event not just for Pakistan, but for the whole region around it, to be a center of innovation in education, very focused in education technology and how we can have it to have more impact. So that's why, of course, it have many branches, many chapters, but we are very proud of the success of the Pakistan chapter this year.
MashaAllah, and we might have, Hajra, very sorry, but we might have pictures and videos from the event just yesterday as well. So I'm going to request our producer, Ms. Seher, you know, so if she can play it, I think that'll be wonderful. Please.
Okay, so Shahzad, you brilliantly hit the nail when you talked about why Pakistan, because Pakistan is a very fertile ground when it comes to the digital engagement, and obviously a lot of companies, they are eyeing to come to Pakistan and capture this market, because YouTube was the most used, I think, website in Pakistan, and Google has its office over.
YouTube
I mean, yes, obviously it's a avenue where you can earn a lot of money, so it has this financial empowerment component, right? So, sir, youth entrepreneurship is something, it's a very fertile ground because it has the multiplier effect. So young people are going to hire a lot of young people. So how promising do you think this investment in Pakistan is going out for the Classera?
Well, we think it's going to be a great investment because we're doubling down. We made several announcements in Uxera yesterday. First, we're going to open a main office in Pakistan, not a commercial office, not just a commercial office. It's going to be also a development office. So one of our R&D offices around the world going to be proudly here in Pakistan by Pakistani engineers trying to take the innovations of Classera to the next level. And their impact going to be felt not just in Pakistan, those engineers, going to be felt around the world in all those countries that we cover. So it's a big, believe in us, in the talent of Pakistan. And we think this is going to be a good payback. Of course, many multinational companies have come before. We believe in this great talent. And in fact, we are doubling down and putting also a hub, a Classera hub for EdTech, where we want to encourage EdTech companies in Pakistan by supporting them, investing in them, and giving them the access to our global markets, from the US all the way to all the other countries in MENA and Africa and beyond in APAC. So we're going to be supporting some of those great EdTech partners, EdTech companies in Pakistan to go global. We want also to encourage some new entrepreneurs in EdTech to come and serve this very important segment, education, And no one now doubt the importance of technology education, especially
That's
after
true.
Corona.
That's
true.
Before Corona, they used to look at technology education as a luxury, as an
Yes,
added thing.
yes.
Now, everyone, and that's the greatest
It's a
gift of
necessity.
Corona, that's the good side of it, they look at it as a necessity, not a
Yes.
luxury. So
Yes.
we need more of those entrepreneurs. And also, we did several other announcements with NUST. We announced that we're going to have a center within NUST, Classera and NUST, also to push innovation in e-learning and have some of their top talent to push that innovation. And we have an agreement also with PTCL to have some agreements to serve the public education in Pakistan.
Wonderful.
And you're going to have, you will hear some very, very interesting news to what we're going to do to the public education in Pakistan. We're working on something that will be, inshallah, very valuable to the public here.
Yeah.
The student of Pakistan deserve to have an education
Yes.
as good as those students in America or
Yes.
Saudi or Dubai or anywhere in the world.
And I believe that this is the high time. This is the right time to
Yes.
do so as well with
Yes.
internet and with globalization,
Yes.
with e-commerce, with e-learning. I think everybody can reach to a height
True.
which anybody else can. So you have the same ability, you have the same possibilities as well. So please make sure you capitalize on that. Hajar, one more thing which I really loved, and that was that how Federal Ministry of Education actually did respond to that. So we had the Secretary of Federal Ministry
Wonderful.
of Education over there. We had representatives of the Ministry of Education over there giving out presentations and what the government is doing about gamification, and they certainly have a bolder plan, which is wonderful. There are 2-3 more interesting things because we've spoken quite enough about Classera, and we want to wish you best of luck. We want to thank you from the bottom of our hearts that you are over here in Pakistan. We certainly want to kind of shake hands with people with which Pakistan can go to newer heights, and our students can actually learn faster and better. But 2 things. Number one, I'm sorry, but it's a morning show on a light note. Number one, obviously, your Classera is actually selling products full of artificial intelligence and education technology, right? Do you use it to grow your own business as well? And how does it work? Just asking.
For the artificial intelligence?
Yes.
I mean, of course, AI is going to the every aspect,
Yes.
That's
of
true.
but we try, of course, to use it as much as we can to train our own, what we call Classera family.
Yeah.
So that's the very first thing to do, because it's, as I said, learning is a journey that never stops. So we have inside what we call Classera Family Academy, using artificial intelligence that we develop to train our people to be even better and better. So that's what
Of
we
course.
promise even the family member of Classera in Pakistan,
Yeah.
that once we invest in them, that we're going to try to make them, as good as possible. And, we want to spread that culture to all even the corporate in Pakistan. That's why we have this Lead Zera, one of our product that is targeting corporate training.
Wonderful.
So we don't want just to upsell the students in
Yeah.
Pakistan in public education and education and in universities. We also want to have an impact on improving employees at the workforce in Pakistan. That's
Right.
another project that we're working on with several partners like HP and Microsoft and PTCL and others, into how we can impact the corporate world and the talent world here in Pakistan and beyond. It's a big mission, a big vision. For us, we don't consider this is just a business. It's a mission of impact.
It's public service as well, to be
Yes.
honest. I think the way Classera
Yes,
has been
yes.
doing it, and the way memorandums of understanding were
And the
signed
public
just
education
yesterday.
component,
Yes,
yes,
obviously, and
yes.
you're tapping onto public education
Yes.
sector, private education, higher education, K-12. I think it's a public service and it's a great service.
Yeah.
Wonderful.
Actually, many ask us how Classera made it to be, one of the global winners, getting all these global awards in short time. I always tell them it's about the passion of our Classera family member, because they all believe that it is not just a business. Beyond, it's an impact. It's a mission that they are really changing countries, taking them to reach their full potential.
True.
And that's what made everyone in Classera very passionate to do the best, and hopefully we can be successful in our mission.
Inshallah.
We want to be hopefully part of the development of the students, a learner in Pakistan, whether in public education or in corporate, and make those people reach their full potential. Hopefully we're going to do that and much more.
Inshallah, inshallah, and may Allah be with all of us as
Ameen.
well at all times. Alhamdulillah. One last thing, and that is before we wrap up this segment. Obviously there's been a lot of discussion around whether students or children should be using ChatGPT or not.
Yes.
And because I wasn't able to kind of ask questions and answer, my job was a very different one just yesterday. So I thought that it is perfect for us to use it. because we have been through those school days, university days, where we made presentations ourselves. We do know how to comprehend things, so the learning ability
Yes.
and the capacity to learn has been, alhamdulillah, somewhat we've learned, right? So now
Yes.
we can actually slightly rely on ChatGPT and then certainly kind of review it ourselves. But for people or students or children who certainly do not have this ability to review things, whether it's right or wrong, what would you say? Do you think that the children at school should be using ChatGPT? Your take on it? It can be
Yeah.
yes or a no. And if it's
And,
a yes,
and
why?
I think it's eroding their intellectual faculties a lot with the introduction of ChatGPT, because they're doing all their assignments on the ChatGPT. I know that because I'm
Yeah.
a teacher.
What my answer to you, we will remember this discussion as we have remembered the introduction of the calculator to the
True,
to
true,
the-
true, true.
so
Exactly.
technology
I
at the
agree with
same-
that.
They claimed at the time that this will wipe up, the math,
Mathematical skills, yeah.
knowledge. It will, no one would know math after this.
True.
And here we are, more than 100 years with the
Exactly.
calculator, and people do know math. It's not about that. If technology going to have a ways to solve it. For example, we're
Okay.
going to have some techniques to know if there is a copied thing, if it is something that's created by ChatGPT. We will find technology will find some ways to know
Yes.
what is the source of
Decipher
that.
them.
But we know how we are not supposed to ban these kind of technology.
True.
We know we have to learn how to adapt to it.
Exactly.
And that's part of the
Live with
adaptation.
them, yes.
Having some software, have some, of course, regulation that as a student you should do this with ChatGPT. And that's in Classera. We actually embedded ChatGPT
Mashallah.
within the Classera, but in a way that helped the student to learn, not just copy.
And thank you so much for saying that, because I still remember that, back in 90s when internet was becoming more
Yes,
common, and
yes.
then parents were really reluctant about, getting
Yes,
an
yes.
internet connection. They're like, no, you know what? Now I believe that every parent out there is actually using it. One more thing, and that is, but thank you so much, sir, for being with us. Lovely
Thank
to be
you
in
so much.
conversation with you. We want to wish you best of luck. We want Classera to be the best edtech company all over the globe as well. And may you continue to prosper in every region where you tap it. Thank you so much once
Thank you
again
so
for
much.
taking our time. But very quickly, one more thing, and that is that while I was at the event and there was so much discussion, I was like, okay, I think it's about high time that I download ChatGPT. And I did. So imagine the yearly fees was 10,000 rupees, and I was like, I'm going to pay that.
Oh,
Because-
really?
Yes, so no matter what
For
happened.
what?
And I did. And so the next thing I did was that, okay, let me try ChatGPT.
Okay.
And so then I gave instructions to ChatGPT that write me an emotional and full of love message for my wife. Now imagine
Right.
that this is something what ChatGPT wrote, and I'm going to share it with you. My dearest, my wife's name, I cannot begin to express the depth of emotion I feel for you. You are the light of my life, the warmth in my heart, and the love in my soul. Our journey together has been full of ups and downs. See, ChatGPT knows. But through it all, I've held on to the unwavering love we share. Your presence brings joy and completeness to my life. I cherish every moment we spend together, and I'm grateful for the unwavering love and support you have given me. I love you more than words could ever express, and I look forward growing old with you, my love forever and always, your devoted partner.
And did you send it to your
I
wife?
sent it to my wife,
What
and
was
she's
the
still
response?
asking if I have downloaded ChatGPT. But there's a hack, So imagine that if you're going to go beyond 100 words, there will be a paragraph which will be in repeat. So please make sure that you
Okay.
stay within 100 words, all right? So that you never get caught. She's still asking me. I hope she doesn't watch this show, but she's been asking me again and again
Yeah.
if you have downloaded. I said I did.
So
It's wonderful, ladies and gentlemen. It
Yes.
was miraculous. If anytime you've forgotten your wife's birthday or something, and you want to write a good status or text, because a lot of people,
Yes.
a lot of my friends ask me to write them a status and whatnot, because their writing skills are not so amazing. So I used to do it for them. I think I can do it by earning money now.
And
know
I've
what?
heard
I
that
can
it-
even write you a song if you want.
And there was this incident where someone also wrote a condolence message on the ChatGPT and sent it to a celebrity because his father passed away. But that was easily detectable. So obviously, human touch is always very detectable, and the AI touch is also very detectable. So we would like to wrap up this session. And once again, thanks our worthy guest for coming here
Thank
and
you
for
so much.
having this very good conversation regarding the edtech, regarding combining the education and innovation. And with that, we'll go on a short break. But after we are back, we are having some very interesting
Yeah.
discussion lined up.
People who are actually writing poems, okay? Not artificial intelligence. So good morning. Me and my Baba. I
Welcome
love
back.
when
So
he's
we had a
around
very
when he
lovely
comes.
discussion, but now we are going to have this discussion around a young child, a young poetess who is here and who wants to share what she has written, because Shahzad was very much interested in what she has written. So Shahzad, would you like to reproduce some of her thoughts
No,
here?
so I'm going to read it out to people, you know. So
Okay.
imagine, ladies and gentlemen, we did say, you know, before heading out towards a break that, you know, other than artificial intelligence, there are a lot of talented people.
That's true.
And such
That's
is an
true.
example of this amazing young baby girl, you know, who's over here in our studios. And, you know, so it's very different. She wrote a book full of poems.
Yes.
And she says thoughts to papers. And it's a wonderful thought in the first place.
Yes.
And so I'm going to read a poem, which I believe every daughter would want to write. And that is
Wonderful.
Me and My Baba.
Okay,
You know,
go
so
ahead.
I love when he's around. When he comes the happiness. When he comes, steps away the sadness. He helps me always. He supports every decision of mine. He buys me the joys, teaches me so well. He inspires me with his knowledge. In his love I dwell. That's why I claim I've got the best dad ever. Dads are always great. I know.
That's very true, and I think daughters have a very different sort of a bonding with their fathers because it's very different than their mothers. But having said so, at the preface of this book, it's very interesting. It's very eye-catching, but there are so many colors out there. So we would like to be in conversation with this young, brilliant girl, because I do feel that there's so many talent out there, and PTV World always provide voices to such sort of young voices. So we are very glad that we have been joined by Maham Faraz. Assalamu alaikum, Faham, and welcome to our show.
Walaikum assalam.
And thank you so much, Bete, for joining. It's wonderful to see you and have you over here. So imagine, right at the back, your Maham says, Mama once told me that poetry is the spontaneous overflow of thoughts. Here I pledge that I will keep changing my thoughts and bringing them to paper.
Yes.
When did you got this idea that, okay, you know, I think that, you know, thoughts to paper would be a brilliant idea to be out there, and you've sold a lot of copies and you're using it for a cause?
Well, I started writing.
When you were 6 years old?
No, when I was 10, when I was 9.
Okay.
Yeah, but I just threw them away. I thought this was just random stuff. And one day when I was 10, I wrote a poem. There's a book. There's a poem in the book, Weather Change.
Okay.
So
And then?
I showed it to my mom, and she was very impressed. She was like, save them, compile them, and we'll get them published. I started compiling them and saving them. Mom bought me a diary. Then I started writing in them, and then slowly.
And then how has been the response in general? I mean, how did your peers responded to them, or your teachers responded to this thought? Because you're very young, and alhamdulillah, in such a young age, she's able to reproduce such an amazing book. And we believe that she's also designed the cover herself. So it's very interesting, it's very engaging, very colorful. Unlike usually the literature books that are usually in black and whites, right? Ji Maham.
Teachers didn't support me in the poetry, but they did help me in the grammatical
Mistakes,
grammatical
Right.
corrections and spelling corrections.
You know, all of that. I think that's what teachers are there for, but I think one should never stop writing.
They do not discuss outside the book.
Exactly.
basically.
Wonderful. Which is why, you know, I'm going to move on to weather change, because weather change actually changed your
It's a
entire
phenomenon.
life. Now you're
Yes.
a poetess, you're out there, you're publishing your books as well. So, you know, for all our viewers who are out there, this windy weather, breezy weather, birds singing all together. People walking, cars racing, this is what I'm seeing and enjoying. Sun is rising, has been shining, the moon is drowning, clouds appearing. This is the weather change, it is the weather change, this is the nature change. I see those mountain ranges, the houses arranged, the sky is orange, I see the evenings coming, night is cooling, night is arriving. The moon is shining, breeze is chilling, hey, they are so cooling. This is the weather change, it is the weather change, this is the nature change. Stars are shining, are so brightening. The view's awesome, see the moon blossom, grasses waving, dewdrops dripping, weather's soothing. This is the weather change, it is the weather change, this is the nature change.
And
Wow.
this is very suited to the weather, which is literally in Islamabad is very springy and very cold, and it's very pleasant to be out there, especially nowadays because it's raining. So Maham, what was your thought? Were you writing it specifically for the Islamabad, because we can see that there is entire scenery, the mountains and
No,
whatnot?
I did not write it particularly for Islamabad. I was just standing on the terrace,
Right.
and I was looking outside, and then those thoughts suddenly came to my mind, and then I thought not to waste them and take them to paper. and then I wrote them down. Then
So how often do you write the poetry? I mean, did you ever face that writer's block when nothing is coming to your mind and you keep trying to that, but I mean, you are totally blank. Did you ever face that writer's block?
yes,
You did?
like poetry is like it comes.
Spontaneously, right?
Yeah, you cannot write it consciously. Like
Right.
it
Yes.
comes
Yeah.
itself, like
Yes.
a revelation.
Exactly, and a lot of people actually say that as well, that we are the only ones who write, but because it just arises naturally,
Yes.
So
Yeah.
one day,
Yes.
you might feel that okay, there's
feel like
something which I
writing.
need to write, and all of a sudden you start to write,
Yes.
and once you've written a few couplets, you keep on writing and writing and writing,
Yeah.
and this has happened to me quite a lot of times
Oh,
because I
wonderful.
write my own rap lyrics as well. But for somebody as young as you, how do you envision your future? Do you see that, okay, you will be writing poems, poetry, or scripts, or film scripts, or do you want to progress, or you want to stick to this?
I am hoping to publish more, and the second book is also on the way, and I've also created a channel.
Yeah, wonderful. On
and-
YouTube?
Yeah,
And what's the name of your channel?
it's Sweet Berries.
Sweet Bellies.
Berries.
Berries.
Sweet berries. Wow. Because every time I think of my belly, it's protruding out these days as well. But while we're at it, you're using all the money which you're going to make from your books for a cause. Can you tell us about it a little?
The money.
Yes.
Yeah, it is for like I'm donating the 100% of this book for redesigning education.
Wow. And how do you plan on doing that?
I'll be, just giving it to the.
So, for example, the way you're saying it is that you want to redesign it. So you're
Yeah.
not
Yeah.
happy with the way we've studied, right?
No.
First,
not
let's
at all.
establish that. Going into a school,
Yes.
sitting in a classroom for 8 long hours, teachers not allowing you to go to the park and do whatever you want to do. So how do you want to redesign it? Do you want to redesign it in a way where we're playing and learning?
Yeah.
And how do you plan on doing that?
Like just the government should also
Participate in it?
in it,
Okay.
and I think what the changes that should be made are like children are mostly in the schools, they are mostly just sitting
and
in a
listening, yes.
classroom.
They
just
do not even have playgrounds these days.
yeah, they don't even have playgrounds.
It's like getting out of one house, getting into another one.
Yeah, and
So
it's
so do you play as well yourself? Do you do extracurricular activities? Do you play football, cricket, anything?
there's nothing as such in our school.
Why?
It's
Why?
I think
I
you
don't
certainly
know,
and you certainly want to change that way of
Yeah.
learning. Why don't you change your school?
it's not the solution.
It's not a solution. Okay, so there's wow. I think it's a very bold statement
Yes.
to be given away by a child who's actually only 10, 12 years old, and that's something which I would want to capitalize on as well as of now. And that is, so imagine that she's in a system where she doesn't like it at all, Hajra.
Yes,
And
yes.
she's saying that
Yes.
changing my school is not the solution. I want to bring about the change
Yes.
where I'm studying as of now. And how do you plan on doing that? So teachers, I'm very sorry, I'm not going to ask you the name of the school. Won't look nice on television.
Yes.
It's like degrading an
Obviously.
educational institution. Would never do that. Would never allow that to happen as well. But how do you want to change that? Do you talk to your teachers or to your principal that we want more avenues to express ourselves?
I plan on discussing it with my principal.
Okay, and then so you haven't discussed it as
So
of
what
now.
are the talking
No.
points, which you plan on changing?
Yeah, the points are that there should be extracurricular
Yes.
activities,
Yes.
and the teaching methods should be upgraded.
Yes.
It's the 21st century, and the things have changed, like ChatGPT.
Yeah. Have you ever used ChatGPT to write a poem?
No, I haven't.
Right? Why?
Because I started writing before ChatGPT, and
Do you
yeah.
plan on using it in the future? Maybe when you're facing the writer's block.
no, not
No. That's not authentic
Obviously.
poem writing then.
Obviously. But I think that's great that the young kids or young voices, they are actually aware of their surroundings and they're actually aware that what is wrong with the education system. And obviously, our state has been trying to reform it. There have been efforts going on for quite some time. And we also need to listen to these young voices because they also have some vision in their mind where they believe that there's something going wrong and this can be corrected by this thing. So we should not just dismiss it that they are young kids or they do not have that level of maturity, because I think by having this conversation with this young kid, with this young poetess, I can feel that she knows that something is wrong and how to correct that. She also has that vision.
Exactly. And Haja, very quickly towards the end, Maham, there's only one thing. Obviously, we would pray for you. PTV
Yes,
World over here at World This Morning, this is a platform. Whenever you have another book, new poems, we would certainly want you to be here. And very quickly, what I felt is that, I think that you can express better in Urdu as well. So why don't you tell our audiences out there in 46 different countries in Urdu, how do you want to change the education sector or the education system over in Pakistan? Urdu में बताएं बेशक.
ठीक है, मुझे ऐसे लगता है कि जो हमारा एजुकेशन सिस्टम है उसमें काफ़ी सारे फ्लॉज हैं. जैसे हमारे पास कोई नो स्पोर्ट्स, कोई स्पोर्ट्स नहीं है, और जो हमारे टीचिंग मेथड्स हैं इट्स द बोर्ड एंड द मार्कर, इट्स जस्ट दैट. तो उसको भी चेंज करना चाहिए. इट शुड बी एक्टिविटी बेस्ड. जैसे ग्रुप हमारे स्कूल्स में ग्रुपिंग नहीं है. बच्चे अलग अलग रहते हैं. देयर आर सम स्क्वाड, देयर इज अनदर डुओ, देयर इज अनदर ट्रियो. It shouldn't be like that.
They should play together. Everybody should be a team.
Everybody should be a team. For example, there is a topic, okay, and teacher says to group. For example, there are 10 students. Teacher makes a group of 2. They both read different pages and they explain it in groups. And I guess that's a way better idea.
And it is, and I'll tell you why, because I've studied in a university where I was so lucky to have such teachers who were actually studying while they were in their universities as well, and that too they went to the best universities all over the globe as well. And there's one thing which they taught us, and that was that this is something which actually kind of develops your ability to work with other people, to be in a team, to be more disciplined. But thank you very much, Maham, for joining us. It was wonderful to have you over here, and please continue to write some more books. Thank you very much for this lovely gift, which I'm going to go and give it to my daughter as well. She's 9 years old, and she's going to love it. I've given her another poem book as well. But very quickly towards the end, Haja, there's only one thing which I'm going to mention, and that is, do you remember that, when we were in school and colleges, and the teachers would only want us that the answer needs to be correct.
That's
so
true.
Imagine even if it was a mathematics exam.
And it should be memorized,
right?
Yes.
So it should be memorized that, okay, this is the step and, this will be the answer. So, for a student like me, who was a little weaker in maths, while I was growing up, so I would remember the answer, but not the process, and even then get full marks.
So,
but imagine
that you have a very good memory, right?
Imagine in university, I met my teacher, and I still value his contribution. That is that. So imagine that he used to give us a question, for example, in a paper. He would allow us to take calculators, take our books and whatnot. And once we take out the answer, the next question was, what does the answer mean? And that was going on to another level that, okay, where am I going to use this, figure, which I just deduced in a math solution. And that was the day when I started, when I started to think that, hey, you know what? This is miraculous. And ladies and gentlemen, whatever the outcome is, you should always be ready or prepared to know or to kind of give away that what are you going to do with that point of information which you just got out of a solution or a math exam.
And I think there is this general drive to move away from the teacher-centric pedagogy, because like this kid mentioned that teacher is the center of the classroom. That shouldn't be the case, right? Students should also play the role, and we should need to move away from that model of the rote learning and memorization, and we need to value the creativity, because you will see that when they are students, when they are young kids, they're very creative, but as they progress, as they move forward, that creativity is snubbed by the education system, so that needs to be corrected. So with that, we will say thank you to our guests. Thank you so much for coming here, and we will wrap up our segment. So until next time, it's a goodbye. Allah Hafiz.
Good morning.